All our lives, some better state than the present me has always beckoned. A future me, where I will be completed and happy. Ever since our first years in school, this expectation of a future time where our completion will finally occur has slowly but surely installed a psychological arrow of time into our personal identity, into our sensation of who we are. This attempt to reach our future completed self has formed the existential journey of our lives. It's how we spend our time being alive. This movement seems to trace an arc through time, and we are sure that this is who we are. We think the arc confirms a self that has traveled through time. This is why we find it so hard to swallow Zen's most fundamental proposal, that nothing, including you, is coming from the past. It feels like a direct attack on our identity, on who we think we are. And it is. Zen involves dismantling this version of self that is being generated by your operating system. So unplugging your belief that who you are is this self that has traveled through time to arrive in the present moment is difficult, but it's a necessary task. If we want to understand how this arc of time became so deeply embedded in our identity, into who we think we are, we need to go back to those earliest years of childhood and look at how this arc of time slowly became part of our sense of self. In our first years of childhood, time was a hazy notion indeed. Our next birthday or Christmas floated out there somewhere like an island lost at sea. Our parents and the bigger kids on the street seemed unfathomably old, and how we ourselves would somehow arrive in that condition of being grown up was a mysterious and little understood thing. For all practical purposes, our sense of time at this age was simply a large now in which we existed. Time itself had really nothing to do with us, or who we were. There was as yet no arc of time in our lives, inside our sense of who we were. But this all changed very quickly upon beginning school. Suddenly there was a daily schedule and pictures on the walls of seasons and Thanksgiving and Christmas and such. We found ourselves at the very bottom of a layered and ordered class system that was entirely based on age, and the whole point seemed to be to move upwards in that system. And what's more, our own advancing into that next school year was continually presented to us as the golden ring, the prize, the whole point of why we were there. So suddenly, our existence of floating in the now was completely gone. We saw there was a clear arc of time. We were on it, and moving forward along that arc was the name of the game. But this arc was not internalized just yet. It was external, something our teachers and parents and the decorations on the classroom wall were all gently placing us on and pointing out its direction. And off we went, following the arc of time. But by the time we reached 4th or 5th grade, our position on this arc was becoming fundamental to our identity, to our sense of who we were and where we stood in the world. You can remember how being a 5th grader was far superior to being a 4th grader, and 6th graders seemed to operate in the realm of the gods. The arc of time was now becoming internalized. Our position on the arc was becoming integral to our sense of who we were and where we stood in the world. All the way through our high school years, our teachers and parents made it quite clear that we were on the on-ramp to adulthood. The arc of time we were on led to our future self, and it was our job to get there. We needed to get the good grades that would get us into a good college, because our arriving at our future self depended on this. Our movement along the arc of time was now completely woven into the self we felt we were. Who we were was this self that was arcing through time towards some hazily defined future state of adulthood, where job security and success in family and other unspecified payoffs would make everything okay. As adults, our movement through time towards our various future selves has never stopped. Our completed states have always been just out in front of us. That next degree, or job, or house, or relationship. We are always moving on the arc of time.